All right, let's dive into a high-stakes corporate drama that could literally reshape the future of artificial intelligence. This is a story about a dominant king, a growing rebellion, and a multi-trillion-dollar empire that's suddenly looking a little less secure. Let's break down how this massive bet is all unfolding.
So, to really get what's going on here, you first have to wrap your head around the sheer scale of Nvidia. By 2025, the company's value just exploded past $3 trillion. Yep, that's trillion with a T. This isn't just another successful company, it's an economic force of nature. And it's all been built on one thing, its absolute total dominance in powering the AI revolution.
And this chart, well, it says it all, doesn't it? Nvidia doesn't just lead the market for the chips that power AI, it basically is the market. We're talking an estimated 85, maybe even 90% market share. Their GPUs have become the essential picks and shovels in this modern AI gold rush. Every major cloud company, every top AI lab, you name it, they're all running on Nvidia. This near monopoly is the foundation of their entire empire.
So how on earth did one company become this indispensable? Well, it was no accident. Nvidia made these huge early bets on GPU computing and then built a massive wall around its tech with its CUDA software platform. For more than a decade, while everyone else was kind of looking elsewhere, Nvidia was busy creating the language, the tools, and the hardware that would one day power things like ChatGPT. They built the kingdom long before anyone else even knew there was a throne to fight for.
But here's the thing about ruling an empire. It comes with its own set of problems. And when you're the only game in town for a resource as critical as AI chips, you're going to start seeing some cracks appear. For Nvidia's customers, the reality of this dominance is turning into a very expensive and very risky problem that's getting harder and harder to ignore.
I mean, think about it. This dominance creates a massive strategic risk for anyone who relies on their chips. We're talking about incredibly long waiting lists for the latest hardware. We're talking about supply chains that are so tight that in 2025, Nvidia was projected to be using over 3/4 of all the specialized manufacturing capacity for AI processors. And of course, with that kind of demand, Nvidia can basically charge whatever it wants. For huge customers like the big cloud providers, this isn't just an inconvenience, it's a direct threat to their entire business model.
And this slide right here, this just perfectly illustrates the core of the problem. This is a peek inside Oracle's financials from 2025. On their traditional software business, they're making a super healthy 70% gross margin. But on their AI cloud business, renting out servers packed with those expensive Nvidia chips, that margin just plummets to 14%. 14%! They're pulling in massive revenue, over $900 million a quarter, but the cost of the hardware is eating up almost all of the profit.
So this is the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? When the cost of your main ingredient squeezes your profits this hard, you don't really have a choice. You have to find another option. You have to find a way to break that dependency. And for Oracle, that path led them straight into a powerful new alliance.
And here we go. This is the pivotal moment in our story. In October of 2025, Oracle dropped a bombshell. It was joining forces with Nvidia's oldest rival, AMD. And look, this wasn't just some small test run. This was a landmark commitment, a massive bet that AMD was finally ready to compete at the very highest level of the AI hardware game.
The scale of this deal is just staggering. Oracle committed to deploying 50,000 of AMD's next-generation Instinct MI450 GPUs. That is one of the largest single orders for non-NVIDIA AI chips ever placed by a major cloud provider. It was a huge vote of confidence and a clear signal to the entire industry that a real challenger was finally stepping into the ring. And this isn't just talk. It's not some empty press release. This is a concrete, multi-year plan. The announcement came in late 2025, but the actual hardware starts getting installed in the third quarter of 2026 and will continue right on through 2027. This long-term commitment gives AMD the stability it needs to really ramp up production, and it gives Oracle a clear path to diversifying its AI infrastructure away from just one supplier.
Now you might be asking, why is Oracle the one making this huge move? Well, it fits perfectly with their unique strategy. See, unlike Google, Amazon, or Microsoft, who are all busy developing their own custom AI chips, Oracle has positioned itself as a kind of neutral AI supermarket. Their goal isn't to push their own in-house hardware, but to offer customers a choice of the absolute best technology available, no matter who makes it. This AMD deal is the ultimate expression of that strategy in action. And if you're wondering if Oracle has the credibility to pull this off, just look at this number. In September 2025, Oracle signed a historic deal with OpenAI, potentially worth up to $300 billion, to provide the massive computing power they need for their future projects. When you land a customer like OpenAI, it proves your infrastructure is truly world-class, and that makes their big bet on AMD all the more significant. In fact, OpenAI is also betting on AMD themselves, committing to deploy a whopping 6 gigawatts of their MI50 GPUs. Okay, so all of this strategy, all of these massive deals, it all hinges on one absolutely crucial thing: the technology. For this challenge to be real, AMD's new chip, the Instinct MI450, has to be able to go toe-to-toe with Nvidia's very best. So let's get into the hardware and see if the challenger actually has what it takes. All right, let's break down the hardware head-to-head. First up, manufacturing. AMD is using TSMC's cutting-edge 2nm process, which could give it a nice little edge over Nvidia's Rubin, which is expected to be on a 3nm process. Next, memory, and this is a big one. The MI450 is packing 432 gigabytes of next-gen HBM4 memory. That is crucial for training today's gigantic AI models, and it's more than what Nvidia's comparable chip offers. Finally, power draw. Look, both of these things are absolute power hogs, but AMD's chip looks to be a bit more power efficient, and that's a huge deal when you're running tens of thousands of them in a data center.
But it's not just about one chip anymore. Modern AI requires huge clusters of these GPUs all working together. And this is where AMD's Helios design comes in. It's what they call a rack-scale system that lets them link up to 128 GPUs so they act as one giant unified computer. This is a direct answer to Nvidia's own systems, and it's absolutely essential if you want to train the next generation of massive AI models.
Now, for years, AMD's biggest weakness wasn't its hardware, it was the software. Nvidia's CUDA platform has been the gold standard for over a decade. But this quote from AMD's Forrest Norrod, this is a direct statement of intent. He calls this their no asterisk generation, which basically means they believe their own software platform, ROCm, is finally mature enough that customers won't have to make any compromises. It's a really bold claim, and honestly, the success of this whole Oracle deal depends on it being true.
So, what does this all mean for the bigger picture? This partnership isn't just about Oracle and AMD, it's a signal of a fundamental shift in the entire AI infrastructure landscape. The ground is literally moving beneath our feet, and the old rules are being rewritten.
Let's go back to that market share chart. While Nvidia is still the undisputed king at 85%, AMD is cementing its spot as the main challenger, carving out a really meaningful 10 to 15% of the market. This isn't just some niche player anymore. They are becoming the clear number two, creating real competition in a market that desperately needs it. This whole saga really shines a light on the new realities of building for an AI-powered world. First, diversification isn't a choice anymore. It's an economic and strategic necessity. Second, the market for AI inference, that's the process of actually using a trained model, is absolutely exploding, and that's an area where AMD is especially competitive. And finally, the sheer amount of electricity these systems use is a massive challenge, which makes power efficiency a key battleground for the future.
And the stakes, they just could not be higher. Nvidia's own CEO estimates that by the end of this decade, up to $4 trillion will be spent on building out the world's AI infrastructure. Think about that. That's one of the largest capital investments in human history, and it's going to fundamentally reshape everything, from our energy grids to global supply chains. The race to capture a piece of that prize is what's driving all this intense competition.
So what this all means is that the era of Nvidia's unchallenged reign really seems to be ending. Oracle's huge bet on AMD has basically guaranteed that the future of AI infrastructure is going to be a battle, not a coronation. So in this more competitive, more diversified world with new players and new tech popping up, the race is wide open. The ultimate question isn't just about which company will have the biggest market share, but who will truly build the foundation for our collective AI future.